Hello everyone again to my YouTube channel. Today I will continue in this chapter of data cleaning and preparation. They will discuss with you data transformation and show for you some tricks to help you to transform or make this process of transformation in your data. Well, as we do before in pandas on the all packages, so we import the both of packages we need in this session. Well, here as we see, we create our data frame. We see we have two columns. First one is key1 with these values. And the second column gives you the integer here in this list. Well, if I run it, okay, I run this data. So this is the value we get after running. So we have key1 and key2, and we have this indexes here. So in key1 we have this string data. We have 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Well, we have here so number we have 1 1 2 3 3 4 4. Well, as we know, in the process of data, we kind of facing some duplicate values or for any reason. Okay, we kind of found some duplicated data, but the domain knowledge is very necessary for any data scientist. Why? Because sometimes you're kind of facing some problems. For example, DNA. For example, if we have some sequences, acids is duplicated, gonna found a 3 times or 4 times or more than 1 times. So at this time, if we try to process this data, if you don't have domain knowledge, you can drop these things, and this will be a mistake. So for this reason, domain knowledge is very necessary. Okay. For example, build on this acids, okay, sequence of DNA, you can predict thermal stability. At this reason, you're gonna facing some acids duplicated. Okay, so duplication of acids is healthy for our data or our project. So for this reason, personally, I recommend domain knowledge is more important than skills to programming or something like that. Because if you build in a strong experience and you have a domain knowledge, at this time you can have your strategies to understand deeply the data. Okay, so but in the general process, we're gonna face some duplicated data. Also, we have this predefined or built-in function called duplicated. So what is the logic behind this function is when we store our data in some variable, then we apply this function. So we return for us a boolean test. Okay, as we see here in this data, we have small data set, of course, because that's just for demonstration. Well, we have key1 and key2 as columns, and we have all this data here. Well, as we see here, if we check all these things, we can have this index 5 and index 6. We have duplicated data here. We have 2 and 4, and we have 2 also, and we have 2, and we have 4. Sorry. So for this, we have these 2 value here. 2 does mean it's duplicated. Index 0 is considered not duplicated and compare all the previous data. But when we come on here in this 6 index, we have the sum values both on this column. For this, we don't have this response of true value. Okay, let's continue. So we have this function of drop duplicates here. For this function of duplicate, just to return for us, as I did before, test boolean to see if we have a duplication or not. But we apply this function of drop duplicates, does mean we want to drop our duplicate values. So here, as we see in this small data set, as I work here, as I run here, Well, we have this key1 and key2. When I apply this drop function, the 6 index is dropped because compare on the previous one. That means the index 5 is duplicated here, as we see. So let me show you. So here we have 2, 4, and 2, 4. That means it's duplicated value. Well, we need to duplicate one and conserve one. So here the index 5 is stay here in this dataset, but this the index 6 is dropped by this function because it's duplicated as I said before. Well, let's continue also. Here in this phase, I want to add in other column or new column based on this function of range. I handled this. I handled before this function in the last tutorials. Okay, I talk more about this function of range. Well, based on this function of range, I create 7 values here, and I add it for my data frame. So when I run it, I get those results here. Okay, I add in this value v1, v1. That's the name of column that I add in my data frame, and this is the values we have here. Well, let's continue. Here also, I apply again these row functions, but this time I have a name of columns here. That means I want to drop the duplicate value based on this column. Well, if we return to our original data frame, so here, so I apply this function of drop duplicates based on this column. That means if we look here, we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That means we have 1, 1, 1. So we have the value of 1 is duplicated 3 times, and 2 is duplicated 4 times. That means if I apply this drop function based on this column, I will return just 2 values, 1 and 2. All these other values will be dropped by this function because that's considered is duplicates, because we have just 2 values to conserve. So as we see here, so we apply this function based on this schema, then we return just 2 values, 1 and 2. Well, also we can apply again this function of drop duplicates, but this time based on 2 columns. That's it. Okay. Well, here we apply this function. It should compare both columns. Should be k k2. Well, both of these columns should be duplicated to be dropped by this function. So here as we see, we return the last one. So when pass this attribute of last, that means we duplicate or we drop the last one and return all the other values. Okay. So here also I create a new data frame. Let me see here. Okay. Run it. So hey, in this data frame we have the regions. Okay. We have some regions here, Morocco, and that the prefectures and province we have. So each region we have the number of prefectures and province we have. This is the old division or the old region division. Okay, this is the new, is not new one we have now. We have 12 regions, but in the old system we have 16 regions. Okay. Well, based on this data set as we see here, we have the regions and we have the prefectures and province. Well, here in this process, what I do, so based on this region column here, I try to return as a result the lower, because here I apply this package of str as main string. So in this string package, I apply the function of lower. That means I make all these string values here as lower, and I store it here in this variable of lower. Same things happened with upper. We have data. I choose this region as my columns. Well, I apply str.if there. That means return all this value and to transform all these values as a if upper. Well, if I I run here, I will see the result. So we have here lower values, and here we have upper values. Okay, well, let's continue. Also, we can have the ability to build in the new columns uh, based on this the columns we have before in our data frame. That's its phase of aggregation or feature selection or feature aggregation. Okay, so one of the strategies. But before do that, as I tell before, we need to have a domain knowledge before do that, because when you have experience and you have a domain knowledge that help you to extract information more. That means we can aggregate more than one feature to extract more information. So as we see here, for example, I choose these prefectures and province we have here, and they try to have a new columns or new features called percentage prefectures. That means how it is the percentage or what is the weight of this, for example, the region of Casablanca. Here, what is the weight based on sum or total of all the prefectures and provinces we have here. Okay, this is the idea behind, because his here as we see I chose this prefecture and provinces, and I divide it based on sum of all this prefecture and province we have here. That's mean each one of these is will be divided by the total of all this prefecture and province we have here. Okay, this one is by 4 divided by the sum of all these things, 9 divided for all sum, and etc etc etc. Okay, this is the idea behind. So this is a small idea about aggregation to extract more information. Thus, uh, we need to have domain knowledge to do this task. Well, let's continue here. Also here I create other series. Okay, I call this the data. I conserve the same name. Yeah, here I create a series. As we see here, we have some values, some create some random values, some positive and negative ones. We have 1, we have minus 32, we have 5, 32, we have minus 100, 150, and so on. Okay, well, here what is the idea behind? If we check this series, we have some negative values. It's one of the triggers between brackets we can face, as I said before, when passing or when we start in this phase of collection of data, we kind of facing some duplicate value, or maybe you kind of facing some values is with nonsense, like negative ones here in this task. So here we have a function called replace, help us to replace what is the variable we have. Here in this example, I try this value of minus 32, and I try to replace it with the non-value. Okay, why I try to replace it with non-value? Because here in this between brackets problem, the negative values don't have any sense. For the reason I need to represent the non-value in pandas with none. Okay, for anyone interested on data analysis, on data science in general, when you're facing or see this keyword of none, that means the non-value. Okay, so for this I need to drop or replace this negative one with non-value. So this is the idea behind this. Well, I run it again and see, because I choose here just negative one, as we see here, negative or minus 32. Okay, but we have other negative values here, minus 100, 100, minus 100. Also here we have both or two values, negative one here, but here in this replace function, in this syntax, I choose just single values. Here what I do, I pass the values as a list. In the same functions replace, I choose negative 30 or minus 32 and 100, and I try to replace each one with some values. Here in this example, minus 32, I will be replace it with non-value, but minus 100, I replace it with 0. When I run my data, that is the result. Okay, well, so this is other syntax to do some things or to handle some negative values here. Well, negative or minus 32, I replace it with non-value, but for minus 100, I replace it with zero values. Okay, and we see here. Well, we have in the same idea we have other syntax because here is data structure. We have list here, but also we have dictionary. In the same function, I can replace in this same function I can replace here the values here. Replace minus 32. This is dictionary. Okay, we have the key here is minus 32, and new value or the value of the new value we can be or I will replace with is the same thing between 100 and 0. Here also in the replace, if I want to change the name of columns, I will do that. We have an attribute here inside of this function of replace called columns. When I try to replace or to rename other the names of columns, I can do that with this. When we go behind the real projects dataset, they will do all these phases necessary. But before that, we need to build in the new background or strong background. Sorry, background in these techniques and these tools of pandas because it's basic one. We have other tools, of course, in Python. We have Polars, we have PySpark, but the basic one here is pandas, very important. If we have or building expertise experience, if we're building a strong experience in pandas, we can work with other tools in Python. Well, here also I create other one. Okay, we have here I create a data frame based on this array function. I ship it. We have indexes here. We have Ohio, Colorado, New York, or we have a name of columns here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I run. Okay, this is the data frame created, and I want to make a transformation here. What is the kind of transformation is I try to transform the value of of string here of indexes. Okay, I try to apply these indexes and transform it to upper or transform with upper function. Well, this is what I do here. I work with lambda. I talked about lambda before. I have a tutorial, special one in pandas function or lambda functions. Okay. Well, lambda, I create one variable here called x. So inside of this x, I try to change all these string values here and transform it to upper one. Well, I run this transform. So here what I do in this data, because this transformation I call it inside of indexes. Okay, I call it in indexes here. That's what I do. But this transformation also we can apply it for other something. If I build this transform, because that will work with any other columns, string columns. Of course, I can do this transformation. But here in this special case, I work with index. Okay. Here, what I do, I apply this function of transform inside this map function because this map function also is a strong one. We have map inside of it. Each one is have the same. When I run it, this is the result you can have here. So is the indexes all these values we have in this indexes transform it to a string to upper case. Okay. Well, let's also continue. Here we have this function of rename also. Inside of this function of rename, we have some attributes like index, like columns, okay, and we have other functions or attributes. Well, here in this case, what I do, I call this attribute of index, and I pass inside as a value for this index str package dot title. That means I want just to make the first character for each value string here as a capital or as a title. Okay, this is what they mean about this. Well, we have also the columns attribute and they pass it as a value of string to flower. That means I will to transform all this name of column as a flower. It's the reverse of here. So we have here this column as a string by default. I try to change it to upper. Okay, so upper. when I run it, so and this is the result here was, so this is the change here. So each value here of the name of this column is transformed to upper. Okay. Well, here also we have this function of rename function. So here, what I do is and then we have dictionary here. I choose this value of Ohio, and I want to replace it or to rename it with a Texas value. Okay, and in place attribute just for to confirm. Okay, well, if I run, okay, the create and other still here. If I call again my data, this is the result. Okay, now well, let's check. Let's see. Well, okay, this is the result here. Ohio is changed by Texas. So this is the rule of, of this function of rename. Also, we can pass a dictionary or list that's different, of course. Now here in this case, I pass a dictionary here to change each value, which what I want. If I want to specify, if we have a hash and thousands of data, of course, if I pass this kind of process, that will be work inside of all data from here. Okay. Well, I end in my tutorial, and happy learning for everyone again. See you in the next section with a topic side of this chapter of data cleaning and preparation. Okay, to I will show you in the next section how we can handle the outliers. Outliers is very important topic in statistics. Okay, well, happy learning again for everyone. See you again. Bye bye.